Now, if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I tend to mostly film sports cars and performance cars. And I really do try to stick to that theme for the majority of time. But sometimes I do tend to stray away from that, and this is one of those times because you just can't ignore when a brand new Mercedes-Benz E-Class comes to the market. So in today's video, I want to give you a full walk around, both inside and out of this car. I'm going to go through the likes and dislikes about this particular model. And finally, we're going to draw some conclusions, and I'm going to tell you why this renders EVs pointless with its capabilities. Now, I know I mentioned at the start that I mostly focus on performance cars, and this ain't one of them, but until the inevitable E63 variant of this E-Class generation comes out, this is the most powerful E-Class you can buy right now. This is the E400e. Yeah, it's a four-wheel drive luxury family sedan. It features a 2-liter turbocharged petrol engine at the front, capable of producing 250 horsepower and 400 Newton meters of torque, and of course, because it's a hybrid, an electric motor. That one produces 130 horsepower but 440 Newton meters of torque. Combined, this car has a total output of 380 horsepower and 650 Newton meters of torque. So this ain't a slow car by any means, despite weighing 2.2 tons. And because we're already outside, let me give you a walk around of the exterior details of this car before I freeze, because of course in Sweden in March it's only +1 degrees outside. Got my cheat sheet here. 2 pages worth of optional extras. Now let's start with the obvious. I'm so happy Mercedes decided to stick with some nice design compared to their rivals in Munich. This car looks gorgeous in my opinion. It's got pretty classic Mercedes lines. You can tell it's a Mercedes from any angle basically. And yeah, it's more of an evolution than a revolution compared to the old car, but I'm fine with that. It's pretty elegant. It's a very fitting design for an E-Class. Now, this car being a press car, like I already showed you, it's got 2 pages worth of optional extras, and some of them are gonna surprise you. So yeah, this car features, I think this is kind of a special paint, Alpine Grey Solid. It's almost 3,500 euros, this particular paint. It's sort of like the Nardo Grey from Audi's. It's pretty good, and it matches really well with the overall vibe of the car, and I think it matches with the wheels. These are the 20-inch multi-spoke AMG wheels. Then this car also has the AMG line premium pack, which is 15,000 euros, and it gets you the panoramic sunroof, head-up display, 3D display. It's got all the acoustic windows, it's got keyless go, it's got the fancy lights, the 360-degree camera system, and the fantastic Burmeister surround system. Then you have the leather package on the inside, 2,000 euros. Then you have the night package, which is around 400 euros, which essentially blacks out some stuff like the wing mirrors, the surround for the windows. Then you have the air suspension, which is a tad expensive, 3,500 euros, but it's definitely worth it. And then finally you have the comfort pack on the inside that gets you the seats and everything that we're going to talk about. Yeah, so this is the nice and warm cabin of the new Mercedes-Benz E-Class. And speaking of nice and warm things, every single surface you touch on this car when you're driving is heated, meaning the armrest on the door, the steering wheel of course, the central armrest as well, and of course these seats. The seats, which are absolutely amazing, both in the front and in the back. You can adjust them in every single way you can imagine. They are ventilated and they also have a massage function. You control them in typical Mercedes-Benz fashion, with the controls being on the door, which makes so much sense that you can actually see what you're adjusting on the seat and not just try to feel on the back side of the seat, on the lower side of the seat. I would like many more car manufacturers to copy this from Mercedes. Another Mercedes-Benz trademark is the gear lever, which is on the steering column. Very well thought out, because just look how it cleans up the center console. It doesn't have anything on it. It's just one big armrest with a big storage space over here. A wireless charging tray, some space for your stuff. Now, let's talk about this big slab of gloss black over here, which is quite the fingerprint magnet, if you can imagine. This car usually comes as standard with just two screens, the instrument cluster here, which holds the rev counter and the speedometer, and the infotainment system, but this car also has a third screen for the passenger. Let me quickly walk you through these three screens. You have the instrument cluster, whatever you call it in your country, where you see the speed and the revs you're doing. It is quite nice because you can customize it in every single way imaginable. So you have a sport dial like you're in a AMG product. Then you can put the whole nav screen on your instrument cluster, and then there's some assistant stuff and all of that. So yeah, this is all very nice, very customizable. Then we move on to the infotainment screen, which is the big screen in the middle. It's pretty responsive. Yeah, the software is pretty good, but as is with every single car in 2024, unfortunately this screen incorporates every single function of this car, including the radio controls and the climate controls. You have a few buttons over here just for the volume, for the driving modes, batteries and everything, but everything else, it's all inside of this screen. Then we have the third screen for the passenger, which basically is a smaller infotainment screen that the passenger can operate. Only difference between the two screens is the fact that the passenger can play games on that one. Of course, when they start getting into a game, you won't be able to see it from here, the driver, only the passenger will. And yeah, they can basically control the radio, the volume, they can control their seat, the massaging function, and you get the gist. And yeah, what else can I tell you? The back seats are also just as amazing as the front ones. And this steering wheel has to be the best designed steering wheel in the business right now. Just look at it. I absolutely love it. It's gorgeous. It also has some buttons in here. And yeah, this is the interior of the new E-Class. Should we try and see how this thing drives? As you'd expect, this car rides beautifully, and of course it is helped by the fact that it's fitted with the adaptive air suspension, and that literally absorbs every single bump in the road. It's absolutely fantastic. It's also pretty quiet on the inside as well, of course, even when the rattly 2-liter 4-cylinder engine comes to life. And speaking about that, it's kind of sad that we're no longer getting those silky smooth 6-cylinders on the E-Class, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, the engine is pretty punchy, but as soon as you get it higher up in the rev range, you realize that this is not the type of engine that you'd expect in a 100,000 euro plus car. It's not as refined as you'd hope. Other than that, the car is pretty easy to drive. It's very maneuverable, both inside and outside town, especially thanks to the rear wheel steering. And it's very, very relaxing to do long miles in this car. Moving on, time for the likes and dislikes about this car. And as far as likes go, I kind of mentioned a few already by now, but my favorite thing about the new E-Class, especially this particular variant, is just how much sense the hybrid version makes and just how seamless it all works together. I've been driving this car for about a week now, and 98% of my journeys have been done in electric mode because it just has so much usable range. It's very easy, even now in winter in Sweden, to do around 55 to 60 kilometers on pure electric alone. It also has fast charging, which is quite unusual for a hybrid, which makes it quite easy to fill up. You can charge this up to 80% in just 30 minutes if you want to. So it's quite lovely to use this as a daily driver in electric mode alone. So yeah, at least for me, this E400e renders EVs quite pointless. On the other hand, as far as the dislikes goes, there's a few things that shouldn't really be present on a car that's so expensive. First off, the infotainment system is quite buggy and quite laggy sometimes. Quite often, for the first 3 or 4 minutes of your ride, especially early in the morning, I have no idea why. You can't really use the touchscreen, and sometimes it doesn't even want to start my Apple CarPlay for the entire journey, despite the music playing from my phone. Maybe this is a first generation bug, I don't know, but yeah, it happened a few times. Then there's some of the plastics on the inside, especially on the door here and inside here in the cup holders section, and on the center console on the back side here. They're not very good quality. And finally, the big one, which is the boot back there. It's quite small because the battery pack sits right underneath it. And on top of all of that, you have to carry those 3 boxes on the inside with the chargers for the hybrid, and one of them, I don't know exactly what's inside, but yeah, you need that too. So yeah, not only is the boot smaller because of the hybrid, but it also smaller because you have to carry those big cases with the charging cables. But overall, this is a pretty amazing car. I adored my week with it. It's super comfortable, super refined, pretty fast, and very, very relaxing to drive. But there's one thing that's really bugging me related to this car, and that is its asking price. The car you see spec'd here costs around 107,000 euros. And I don't know about you, but that seems a tad expensive for an E-Class, especially one that's equipped with a 4-cylinder engine. And that's especially annoying considering that there is another hybrid E-Class in the range, the E400e, which basically has the same engine but down-tuned a little bit, but it has the same electric motor, the same battery, the same 4-wheel drive system, the same 9-speed automatic transmission. You get the gist, but it is about 15,000 euros less expensive. So I think that car is a more sensible choice if you really want a hybrid E-Class. But at the end of the day, you can't really go wrong when you're buying a Mercedes-Benz E-Class. So if you're looking for your next family car and you want it to be a bit more on the special side, you should definitely consider one of these. But that's it for today's video, my friends. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Please hit that thumbs up button if you did, and make sure you're subscribed for plenty more videos to come.